Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up, covering the week ending August 2nd, 2024. Your host, as always, is Neil Bisson, a retired intelligence officer with the Canadian Security Intelligence Service and the director of the Global Intelligence Knowledge Network. Neil is here to guide you through the latest news articles concerning national security, foreign interference, espionage, terrorism, and all things spy-related, providing you the information and the analysis that only someone with over 25 years of law enforcement and intelligence information can provide. This week, we've got some amazing stories ripped right from the headlines that you won't want to miss. From breaking developments, terrorism plots in Canada to spy swaps, we've got you covered. Get ready for an in-depth analysis that will keep you informed and on the edge of your seat. But before we dive into today's stories, I want to highlight the vital role your support plays in sustaining this podcast. By subscribing to the Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or simply asking your smart speaker to play it, you'll never miss an episode. If you enjoy our content, please leave a comment, give us a rating, and share it with your friends and colleagues. Your feedback and support are crucial in helping us continue to deliver high-quality, insightful content. You can also support the show by becoming a supporter at buzzsprout.com/2,336,717/support. Your contributions are greatly appreciated and help ensure we can keep bringing you these important insights. Thank you for your support. Now, let's dive into this week's episode of the Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up with your host, Neil Bisson.
Welcome to another episode of Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up, ending the week of August 2nd, 2024. We start off with a gripping story that has captured international attention. We're discussing an article from The Guardian entitled, How Evan Gershkovich Was Finally Released After 500-Day Odyssey in a Russian Prison System. This story chronicles the intense and complex journey of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, who was charged with espionage and endured nearly 500 days of Russia's notorious prison system. Evan Gershkovich's arrest marked the first time since the Cold War that a reporter was charged with espionage by a Russian government. His detention by the Russian FSB, followed by a dramatic arrest where agents pulled his shirt over his head, signaling the gravity of the situation. The charges claim he was recruited by the CIA to gather information on Russia's largest producer of main battle tanks. Both Gershkovich and the Wall Street Journal have strongly denied these charges, with the Biden administration labeling him a pawn in a broader geopolitical game. The article paints a detailed picture of the political machinations behind Gershkovich's detention. It highlights Vladimir Putin's barely concealed aim to use Gershkovich as leverage to free Vadim Krashkov, a FSB assassin jailed in Germany for the assassination of a Chechen rebel commander. Krashkov's importance to Putin was evident, with sources indicating his release was a symbolic gesture to show that Russia doesn't abandon its operatives. This scenario draws parallels to the Cold War era, where espionage charges and hostage diplomacy were common tactics. In the article, several sources provided critical insights. The Kremlin insider described Putin's determination to get Gershkovich back as almost maniacal, underlying the lengths to which Russia would go. Additionally, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan confirmed that jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny was initially part of the deal to release Gershkovich, but his mysterious death derailed those plans. These expert opinions shed light on the intricate and often perilous world of international negotiations and intelligence operations. Evan Gershkovich's harrowing experience underscores the perilous nature of journalism in hostile environments and the broader implications of state-level espionage accusations. His release, achieved through complex negotiations involving multiple nations and prisoners, highlights the ongoing tensions and delicate balance of power in global intelligence operations. I have previously written on the Gicken website about how journalistic cover for intelligence operatives is both unrealistic and dangerous. I truly believe that Gershkovich was used as a political pawn by the Russian government, much in the same way that the U.S. basketball star Brittany Griner was used to free Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout. In our next story, we're examining a critical situation unfolding in South Korea. Our discussion centers on an article titled Covert Agent Identified Leak Targets Alarm Over South Korea's Intelligence Operations. This story highlights the grave consequences of a leak involving the identities of South Korean covert agents. The ongoing investigation into the leak of military secrets, including personal details of South Korean covert agents abroad, has sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. A civilian employee of the Korean Defense Intelligence Command has been accused of leaking sensitive information to a Chinese citizen of Korean ethnicity. This information includes the names, locations, and other personal details of covert agents involved in human intelligence operations abroad. The potential repercussions of South Korea's intelligence network, particularly those focused on North Korea, are immense. South Korea's intelligence operations, especially those involving human, are crucial for gathering detailed and actionable information on North Korea. The Intelligence Command conducts high-risk operations, including direct infiltration into North Korea. These covert agents, often referred to as black agents, operate under deep cover, making their training and development a significant investment in terms of time and resources. The leak of their identity compromises the ability to function and delivers a severe blow to South Korea's intelligence capabilities. Experts warn of the devastating impact of such leaks. The head of the Korean Institute of Liberal Democracy emphasized that human intelligence capabilities could be reset to zero if these agents' identities were compromised. He highlighted the unique advantage South Korea has in gathering intelligence on North Korea due to shared language and cultural understanding. However, without human intelligence, South Korea will continue to struggle significantly. The leak of South Korean covert agent identities represents a significant threat to national security and intelligence operations conducted by South Korea. The incident underscores the importance of robust counterintelligence measures and the need for comprehensive legal frameworks to address espionage. As we monitor these developments, it is crucial to recognize the delicate balance of intelligence operations and the severe impact of breaches in security. In our next story, we turn our attention homeward to Canada. A significant measure has been taken by the Canadian government to safeguard the electoral process from foreign interference. Our focus is on the article entitled Canada's By-elections Will Be Monitored by Foreign Interference, says Minister. The Liberal Government of Canada has announced that measures to monitor and assess foreign interference threats will now be part of all future federal by-elections, not just general election. Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc confirmed that the Security and Intelligence Threats to Elections Task Force, or SITE, will be vigilant during the upcoming September by-elections in Quebec and Manitoba. The SITE Task Force was established in 2019 to protect Canada's electoral process and includes representatives from CSIS, the RCMP, Global Affairs Canada, and Communication Security Establishment. The task force has been actively monitoring federal by-elections this year and in 2023. During these elections, SITE provides intelligence assessments to a committee of deputy ministers, who then brief and advise responsible ministers on countering foreign interference. To ensure comprehensive monitoring, the task force will produce both classified and unclassified reports on any attempts at foreign meddling. These reports will be available to the Prime Minister, relevant ministers, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, and security-cleared representatives of political parties. This transparent approach aims to maintain the integrity of the electoral system. Despite these robust measures, a recent report by the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency highlighted that the SITE Task Force and its associated panel were not adequately designed to address traditional human-based foreign interference. The report emphasized that foreign interference often extends beyond electoral periods and requires ongoing detailed intelligence analysis at the writing level. This long-term and granular nature of traditional foreign interference poses a significant threat challenge to the task force. Canada's proactive steps to monitor and counter foreign interference in by-elections reflects the evolving nature of the electoral system. While the SITE Task Force plays a crucial role, ongoing efforts to enhance the capabilities and address the traditional foreign interference are essential for safeguarding our democratic institutions. Sticking with Canadian national news, the story concerns a case involving a father and son accused of planning a terrorist attack in Toronto. The article is entitled Toronto Terror Suspects Recorded Video with Weapons, ISIS Flag. Ahmed Fawad Mustafa El-Didi, 62, and Mustafa El-Didi, 26, have been charged with 6 ISIS-related terrorism offenses. They were allegedly in the advanced stages of planning a massive casualty attack in Toronto. Police arrested them in a hotel north of the city, seizing an axe and a machete. The arrest followed the discovery of a video showing the suspects holding weapons in front of an ISIS flag. The RCMP confirmed that the planned attack was imminent. The elder El-Didi is also charged with an aggravated assault committed for ISIS outside of Canada in 2015, linked to a brutal ISIS propaganda video. The investigation is ongoing and publication ban is in effect. Authorities authorities have emphasized that there is no further threat to the public at this time. The identities are among more than 36 suspected ISIS supporters charged in Canada since the terrorist group was formed in Iraq and Syria in 2014. According to a global news analysis, Canadian authorities have charged 38 people with ISIS-related crimes, leading to 20 convictions to date. The remaining suspects are either waiting for trial or have been acquitted. Canadian officials have employed measures such as passport denials and terrorist peace bonds to counter ISIS support domestically. The arrests of Ahmed al-Didi and Mustafa al-Didi highlight the ongoing threat posed by ISIS sympathizers and the importance of vigilance in counter-terrorism efforts. The Canadian intelligence community continues to take decisive action to prevent terrorist activities and ensure public safety. Ahmed al-Didi's previous actions in 2014 likely placed him on the radar of the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and monitoring of his communication, contacts, or activities likely alerted intelligence and law enforcement to his planning of a terrorist-related act. The use of bladed weapons like axes, machetes, knives, and swords is a growing and troubling trend regarding terrorist acts. The result of such attacks are horrific, and the technical expertise required of participants is minimal. Easy access to bladed weapons only increases the threat. I have a video on situational awareness that may help provide the needed understanding to keep you safe in potentially dangerous situations. Please check it out at the Global Intelligence Knowledge Network YouTube page, Inside Intelligence. Continuing with terrorist-related news in Canada, a Canadian national has been sentenced to prison for terrorism offences in the UK. This next story is from a Global News article entitled "Canadians Sentenced to 5 Years in Prison for Terrorism Offences in the UK." Khalid Hussain, a Canadian citizen and resident of Edmonton, has been sentenced to 5 years in prison by a British court for participating in a terrorist organisation. He was sentenced alongside Anjan Chowdhury, a notorious British extremist leader at London's Woolwich Crown Court. Hussain's involvement in the group Al-Muhajirun, also known as the Islamic Thinkers Society, began in 2020. Anjem Chowdhury, sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 28 years, was the leader of Al-Muhajirun, a group linked to the deadly attacks in the UK. Hussain, acting as a personal assistant to Chowdhury, helped set up websites and distribute extremist publications. This assistance facilitated Chowdhury's influence despite Hussain residing in Canada. The RCMP identified Hussain during a counter-terrorism investigation that began in 2019. He was arrested upon landing in London in June 2023, intending to meet Chowdhury. Hussain will serve a maximum of 5 years in prison, with the possibility of early release after serving 2/3 of his sentence. He will also be subject to notification requirements for 15 years following his release. Assistant Commissioner Lisa Moreland of the RCMP emphasized the importance of remaining vigilant against extremism, highlighting that it can take root anywhere. The collaboration between Canadian and British authorities was crucial in securing the convictions, ensuring greater safety for the communities across the UK. The sentencing of Khalid Hussain underscores the ongoing global efforts to combat terrorism and the importance of international cooperation in these endeavors. Canadian intelligence community and the Canadian authorities continue to play a crucial role in identifying and addressing threats, both domestically and abroad. The case of Chowdhury and Hussain exemplifies that those individuals who are attempting to radicalize others will find followers who will assist them technologically to achieve their goals. Personally, I am glad to see that a conviction has happened in the UK for Hussain and hope that future convictions of Canadians who travel to participate and support terrorist-related activities continues before any damage to life or property happens. We now travel to Paris, France, where we're discussing a significant incident of rail sabotage believed to be orchestrated by far-left groups. Our focus is on the article entitled "France Suspects Far-Left Groups Were Behind Rail Sabotage," Minister says. On the eve of the Olympic Games opening ceremony in Paris, France's high-speed rail network was sabotaged, causing extensive travel disruptions. The attack targeted signal substations and cables at critical points, leading to chaos for travelers. The French Interior Minister indicated that the sabotage bears the hallmarks of far-left groups. In recent years, France has faced various threats, primarily from Islamist militants. However, security services have become increasingly concerned about far-left or anarchist militants who oppose the state and capitalism. These groups have been involved in clandestine actions such as arson campaigns and property destruction. The sabotage caused significant disruptions, affecting 800,000 people and incurring considerable cost for the state-owned rail operator SNCF. The French Transport Minister confirmed that the train services were restored by early Monday after intensive repair efforts over the weekend. Nicolas Lerner, the former head of France's domestic intelligence agency and current leader of the foreign spy agency DGSE, has highlighted the rise of far-left groups in recent years. These groups have incorporated ecological issues into their ideologies and have been known for violent actions. Europol's 2023 report on terrorism trends also emphasized that left-wing and anarchist groups often target critical infrastructure, with arson and improvised explosive devices. The sabotage of France's high-speed rail network underscores the evolving nature of threats facing nations today. While Islamist militancy remains a concern, the rise of far-left groups and their tactics pose a significant challenge to national security. The results of terrorist acts are indiscriminate, and regardless of whether it's right-wing, left-wing, or religiously motivated attacks, intelligence and law enforcement agencies and services must be able to identify, deter, and disrupt these actions. As the Olympic Games continue, it's crucial for security services to remain vigilant and adaptive to these emerging threats. On the topic of terrorism and its motivations, in our next story, we're discussing a troubling trend highlighted in the article entitled "Rise in People Fascinated by Violence," police warn. Recent insights from senior US and UK police officers following the successful prosecution of the Islamist preacher Evan Gershkovich reveal an increasing number of individuals drawn to violence without any underlying ideological motivation. This development presents a new layer of complexity to the existing threats from international and domestic terrorism. Evan Gershkovich, an Islamist preacher from East London, has been sentenced to life imprisonment for directing a banned terrorist organization and promoting its activities online. His case underscores the persistent danger posed by radicalizers and the violent groups they support. However, the rise in individuals fascinated by violence, regardless of ideology, is becoming a significant concern. Rebecca Weiner, Deputy Commissioner of the Intelligence and Counter-Terrorism at the NYPD, and Matt Jukes, a UK-based counter-terrorism policing, have noted the diversification of threats. They point to the impact of online extremism, conspiracy theories, and the influence of hostile states like Russia on the current security landscape. Mr. Jukes highlighted that around 20% of current terror suspects have no settled worldview, fluctuating between various forms of extremism. This shift signifies a departure from traditional pathways to radicalization. Ms. Weiner emphasized the role of online extremism and disinformation, particularly in the context of conflicts like the Israel, Gaza, and Ukraine, which contribute to this volatile environment. The growing fascination with violence among individuals, especially young people, poses a unique challenge for counterterrorism forces. The blend of ideological and non-ideological motivations requires a multifaceted approach to effectively address these threats. Individuals who were once pulled into radicalization because of their religious beliefs are now being drawn into the idea of perpetrating a violent attack because of the fascination with violence. This results in intelligence agencies and law enforcement identifying individuals with social and mental issues, aligning themselves with fundamental and violent groups and individuals. As we have seen previously, groups like ISIS aren't concerned with who perpetrates attacks under their flag. As such, intelligence and law enforcement organizations must look beyond traditional motivations of terrorists to the mental state of individuals flocking to a group that encourages and promotes violence for violence sake. In our next story, we dive into the recent sentencing of 2 Russian spies in Slovenia and what could mean for future prisoner exchanges between Russia and the West. 2 Russian deep-cover spies believed to be Artem Dolstev and Anna Dolsteva were recently sentenced in Slovenia after pleading guilty to charges of spying and falsifying documents. The swift court case potentially paves the way for their inclusion in a future prisoner exchange. Arrested in late 2022, the pair were known by their cover identities Ludwig Girsch and Maria Mayer, an Argentinian couple. They lived in Slovenia, where they ran an online art gallery and an IT business while secretly working for Russian intelligence. Their deep cover status as illegals allowed them to operate across Europe, taking advantage of Slovenia's position within the Schengen-free movement zone. The couple pleaded guilty to espionage and document falsification charges. They were sentenced to over a year and a half in prison, equivalent to time served, and ordered to be expelled from Slovenia for a 5-year ban on returning. This case highlights the ongoing low-profile negotiations that occurred between Washington and Moscow over recent prisoner swaps. The swift admission by Russian officials that the pair were intelligence officers suggests a strategic move by Moscow. The conviction of Artem Dolstev and Anna Dolsteva in Slovenia marks a significant development in the ongoing intelligence chess game between Russia and the West have been profound, and the implications for international relations and security. As negotiations for prisoner exchanges will likely continue, the outcome have profound implications for international relations and security. As more and more Russian spies are being identified and arrested in European theater, the need for Moscow to show that they won't leave their operatives locked up by the Western powers is a strategic move to keep the Russian spies from defecting or becoming double agents. Our last story focuses on an article entitled How TikTok Bots and AI Have Powered a Resurgence in UK far-right Violence. This article highlights the alarming ways in which AI and social media are being leveraged to far-right violence in the UK. The article begins by describing a chilling incident Less than 3 hours after the stabbing attack in Southport, an AI-generated image was shared on social media depicting men in traditional Muslim dress outside the House of Parliament, one of them holding a knife. This image, viewed over 900,000 times, was used to spread misinformation and incite fear. The significance of this from an intelligence perspective cannot be overstated. The rapid dissemination of such content shows how extremist groups are using AI to create and spread inflammatory material with unprecedented speed and reach. This is not just about misinformation, but about creating narratives that can provoke immediate and dangerous reaction. The resurgence of far-right activity in the UK is not entirely new. We've seen similar waves in the past, most notably with the English Defence League in the 2010s. However, what makes the current situation different is the use of advanced technology. AI-generated images, songs with xenophobic lyrics, and coordinated efforts on platforms like TikTok, X, and Facebook are now central to their strategy. These groups are not just organized entities like Britain First or Patriotic Alternative. Instead, we're seeing a more decentralized approach with thousands of individuals contributing in small but impactful ways. These help create a cohesive movement without the need for traditional organizational structure. Experts quoted in the article provide valuable insights. Andrew Rogursky from the Institute for the People-Centered AI at the University of Surrey warns about the ease with which anyone can now create powerful, potentially harmful imagery using generative AI. John Mulham from Hope Not Hate highlights growing overlap between various far-right individuals and groups online, emphasizing the role of social media influencers in spreading extremist content. This points to a significant challenge for intelligence and counter-extremist efforts. The decentralized nature of these movements makes them harder to track and counter. Traditional methods of surveillance and disruption may not be as effective, necessitating new strategies and tools. The use of AI and social media by far-right groups in the UK represents a dangerous evolution in how extremist ideologies are propagated. The ability to quickly generate and disseminate inflammatory content poses a serious threat to national security and social cohesion. As we move forward, it's crucial for intelligence agencies and policymakers to adapt to these new realities and develop robust countermeasures.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up. We hope our insights and analysis have been both informative and engaging. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play it so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a comment, give us a rating, and share it with others. Your feedback and support are essential in helping us continue to deliver high-quality, insightful content. You can also support the show by becoming a supporter at buzzsprout.com/2,336,717/support. Your contributions are greatly appreciated and help ensure we can keep bringing you these important insights. To our Canadian listeners, we wish you a happy and safe long weekend as you celebrate the civic holiday on Monday. Enjoy your time with family and friends. Stay tuned for more in-depth discussions and analysis in our next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.